Did you know your voice actually carries weight in every election? Not just the big ones, the presidential ones everyone talks about.
Yeah.
I mean, from deciding like what happens with your local park to shaping policies that affect your commute every day. Your vote is, well, it's a pretty powerful tool.
It really is.
So today we're doing a deep dive into how to register, how to stay registered, and how to make that vote actually count. We're boiling it down.
Mm-hmm.
I still remember my first time registering. I was totally convinced it was going to be this like maze of paperwork.
Right.
And then I found myself double checking if the local library was actually a polling place or if they were just, really into civic themed story time that week.
That feeling of like needing a secret decoder ring. It's
Yeah.
so common.
Yeah.
And honestly, it just shows how much information, and sometimes, let's be real, misinformation is floating around about voting.
Exactly.
Which is precisely why we're doing this deep dive. We want to cut through all that noise.
It is the essential.
This is the core stuff, yeah.
Right. So for this deep dive, we've gathered a bunch of different sources. We looked at official government guides like USA.gov.
Which is super helpful.
Yeah, really clear. And then historical context from the National Archives, which is fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
And even some really good explainers we found over on YouTube. Just trying to break it down.
Yeah, distilling it.
Our mission here is basically to pull out the most important bits of knowledge so you feel, genuinely informed and empowered to actually engage.
Ready to go.
Ready to go. Okay, so presidential races get all the attention, right? Big news. Feels huge.
Always.
But what our deep dive into these sources really suggests is that every election matters. Small local ones, national midterms. They can sometimes hit closer to home, impact your daily life, maybe even more directly than who's in the White House. Let's unpack that a bit.
Yeah, it's interesting. One key thing is this idea, your vote, your power. It sounds kind of like a slogan.
Right.
The sources, especially looking at the history from the National Archives, show it's been this like quiet engine behind almost every big social and political change we've seen.
Yeah.
And often in ways you wouldn't expect. Like think about how public schools got started in lots of towns. That often came down to just a handful of local votes ages ago.
Wow.
And we still feel the ripple effects today, in our communities, even our tax bills.
That's a really powerful way to think about it. And when we talk about local elections matter, the sources really hammer home how direct that impact is on your wallet, your commute.
Totally.
We hear about these massive federal budgets, but it's that city council vote that might decide if your property taxes nudge up for a new park.
Or if that pothole finally gets fixed.
Exactly. Next week, not like next year maybe. It's immediate stuff.
Precisely. And that connects right into this concept of a ballot measure.
Okay.
So these aren't about electing a person. They're about specific issues or maybe proposed laws. And digging into the sources, you see this amazing range. Well, a local ballot measure could be for bonds for, say, a new fire station. That directly impacts your property value, your safety.
Sure.
While a statewide one, an amendment maybe, could change environmental rules or tax policy for, like, years to come.
Okay. Yeah.
That's often where you see the most tangible day-to-day impact.
So it really makes you think, doesn't it, about how these different levels of government touch your life. Which kind of begs the question, considering these direct impacts, why do local elections sometimes affect your daily life, even your finances, more immediately than the national ones?
Well, if you connect that to the bigger picture, the National Archives material lays out how civic responsibility is both this fundamental right, but also, a duty in a democracy.
Right.
It's about participating in the decisions shaping your immediate world. And often, those critical decisions, they're made right there at the local level, closer to home.
Where the rubber meets the road.
Exactly. That's a good way to put it. On issues that directly influence your neighborhood, your schools, your local services.
Okay, so if the why of voting is clearer now, the very practical how is the next big piece, right? Because knowing your vote matters is one thing, but making sure you can actually, cast it without any problems, that's another story.
Definitely.
So
Exactly. And some states are even moving towards automatic voter registration now, which is another interesting development for accessibility.
that's a really crucial point, especially that it's not an annual thing. That saves hassle.
For sure.
And speaking of rules changing, the sources also point out how voting rights evolve. Things like what ID you need or early voting options, even the rules around getting an absentee ballot.
Oh, yeah.
They can change quite a bit, and they're really different depending on what state you're in.
Hugely different.
What the sources highlight is that while some states have made it super easy, like no excuse absentee voting for anyone,
Which is convenient.
very, but other states still require you to have a specific documented reason to vote by mail. And that's not just like a small detail.
No, it really impacts access.
It totally affects how many people can actually participate, especially, during health crises or if you have a really demanding work schedule. It just underlines why you have to check official sources for your specific area.
Absolutely. Trusted sources matter is like the mantra here for all election info. Stick to official government websites, state or federal, or those well-known, reputable, nonpartisan groups. Avoid the noise.
Avoid the noise.
And on the timing thing, election cycles. It's important to remember that big elections don't just happen every 4 years.
Right.
There are often elections every single year for something. And the importance of midterm elections, those ones halfway between presidential years,
Yeah.
they are huge. They're not just like practice runs. They decide who controls Congress, state legislatures, governors. They basically set the whole legislative agenda and power balance for the next 2 years.
Okay, that's a big deal then, not just a warm-up.
Not at all. Fundamental shift can happen in midterms.
So all this kind of leads to the next layer, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What does this all mean for actually making, informed choices and maybe engaging beyond just showing up on election day? It can feel like a lot.
It can. And for making informed choices, the advice is pretty consistent. You got to look past just the flashy ads and the slogans.
Easier said than done sometimes.
It is. But researching means actually digging into candidates' platforms, understanding their voting records if they've held office before.
Seeing what they actually did.
Exactly. And seeing how that lines up with your own values and, what you want for your community long term. It's about being a critical consumer of all that information flying around.
Okay. And what about youth impact? For teens who aren't quite 18 yet, can't cast that ballot, it might feel like they're kind of sidelined. What can they do to still be involved?
Oh, absolutely. Your civic engagement starts now, way before 18. The sources really spotlight the incredible power of youth advocacy.
Really?
Yeah. Think about, the environmental movements pushed by students, or how youth groups have genuinely influenced policies on stuff like school funding or social justice issues.
Oh.
It's not just about volunteering here and there. It's about amplifying voices, running awareness campaigns, organizing local projects, using social media in ways that actually make policymakers pay attention.
So they can make noise even without the vote itself.
Absolutely. Every voice contributes to shaping that public conversation.
Which leads perfectly into this broader idea of advocacy in action, right?
Right.
It's not just the ballot box.
Exactly. It's also about what happens between elections. Signing petitions, writing actual letters to your elected official.
That must still work.
It does, and joining local community groups that focus on issues you care about. These are all really vital ways to exercise that comprehensive civic responsibility, shaping policy and community life long before the next election cycle even starts.
Okay.
And, being truly informed also means understanding the ballot basics, the stuff that appears with the candidates.
Right, the measures and things.
Yeah, it's not just recognizing names. It's knowing if that ballot measure is for a local road bond or if it's a state constitutional amendment that could have massive, maybe even irreversible long-term consequences.
Big difference.
Huge. And for candidates, understanding things like term limits can be important too. It tells you if you're voting for someone brand new, bringing fresh ideas, or maybe an experienced incumbent who's seen a few cycles.
Oh.
All those details add up to making choices that really have an impact.
Wow. Okay, so this deep dive has really shown, I think, the nuanced power of every single vote, especially highlighting those, often overlooked but super impactful local elections and, as you said, the real significance of midterm elections. We've definitely underscored the importance of being diligent about voter registration, knowing when you need to update it.
Crucial.
And how civic engagement isn't just a one-day thing. It's ongoing. It's dynamic.
Exactly. And I think one key takeaway here is that, knowledge is great, but it's most valuable when you actually understand it and can apply it. Critical thinking is just essential with all the info swirling around.
Yeah.
And always use those official sources for election stuff. Get the facts straight. Oh, and to quickly bust that common myth the sources clarified, no, you do not need to re-register every single year.
Good reminder.
Yeah, unless you move, change your name, or just became eligible, your registration usually stays active. Knowing that saves a lot of unnecessary worry and effort.
For sure. Okay, so for your call to action this week. Just take a moment. Go online, check your voter registration status. It usually only takes a minute.
Super quick.
Or, hey, if you know someone who's turning 18 soon or just moved, maybe help a friend check theirs or figure out the process. That's like the most direct first step you can take to making your voice count.
Yeah, that's a great practical step. And you know, what's really fascinating here, thinking longer term, as the rules around voting keep changing and our communities face all these new complex challenges, it does raise this important question. How might our very understanding of civic responsibility need to adapt? You know, to make sure that every voice isn't just heard, but is actually genuinely considered in shaping the world around us, especially with technology and information moving so fast now.
That's a deep thought to end on. Something to really mull over.
Yeah.
Well, we hope this deep dive helps you feel a bit more empowered and engaged with everything happening around you. Until next time, keep digging deeper.